It's 6 o'clock. I'm calling the meeting to order. Brian, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have 3 sets of minutes to approve. And the first is the non-public work session of April 29th. Is there a motion?
I move we accept the minutes, non-public work session minutes for April 29th.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And Kathy, you were not here, so you're recusing yourself, or at least
Yeah, I
you're
abstain.
abstaining. Sorry.
Abstain.
The second is the April 29th regular meeting minutes.
Make a motion that we accept the minutes.
Is there a second?
We can.
What's that? Oh, crap. I guess we're
I
tabling
watched
that
the
one.
video. Does that count?
Nope.
We might have to,
We'll table it for next time. Although that's admirable. The third is the May 6th work session minutes. Is there...
make a motion that we accept the minutes.
Is there a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Abstain.
Announcements. The Select Board will meet on the following dates. We'll have a regular meeting at 6 p.m. Tuesday, May 28th, also Monday, June 10th, and June 24th, 2019. Work sessions prior to the regular meeting will start at 5 p.m. Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District hydrant flushing is going to occur between May 13th and June 7th. Town, also beware of the color brown when they come out of the faucet. So, town offices will be closed on Monday, May 27th, in observance of Memorial Day, and the Plymouth Memorial Day Parade will be held at 10:30 a.m., and the lineup will begin at 10 a.m. at the Armory. All of the above meetings will be held in the town hall unless otherwise posted. Citizens wishing to be listed on the Select Board's agenda should notify the town hall before noon on the Friday before the scheduled meeting. Alternate members are always needed to fill the positions of zoning and planning boards. If interested, please submit a letter of intent to the Plymouth Select Board's office at 6 Post Office Square. And the board is continuing to seek members for the new advisory budget committee, and ask anyone who's interested in serving to submit a letter of intent to the Plymouth Select Board, Town of Plymouth, at 6 Post Office Square. We have an update. Sean Hanlon from Plymouth Ford will give us a business update. Is that the case, Kathy? Or? Okay. Sean?
How you doing? Is this okay to be over here?
Yeah, that'd be great. Or that'll be,
I want to thank you guys for giving me an invitation to come down and say hello. My name's Sean Hanlon from Gorham, New Hampshire, and I'm the new owner, partner at Plymouth Ford with the gentleman, my partner is Dan Dages, who was the founder of the Berlin City Auto Group up in Berlin. I'm very optimistic and excited to kind of stand before you. I know that it's no secret that the dealership has been in need of some care, and we've got a very aggressive set of plans where we're going to take and get the facility where it needs to be so that our customers have more of a pleasurable experience in the service side. We're adding staff. We're adding inventory. We'll be very much more than the local Ford dealer in that we'll carry a very large supply of used cars, all makes and models. We're making a very significant investment, not only in the facility, but also in people, in training, as well as in our service center is under new management. And we're going through complete renovation on the inside, from cleaning it up, paint, getting it freshened up, getting the flooring redone, and upfitting it with all the latest technician equipment, including lifts, all the diagnostic tools that are necessary to be competitive in today's market, as well as a state-of-the-art collision center that we're in process of building and reopening as we speak. So there's a lot of moving parts. We are in the process of getting our final approval from Ford, which at this point is somewhat of a formality. So we intend to be fully under control of the store by the end of this month. We've been in managing it for the last 3 months. And you may have noticed that there's a few more cars kicking around and there's a few more things happening. But we have a really comprehensive web program where some of my partners' dealerships that he owns is going to be able to share used car inventory for our local customers. So if you're looking for a used Toyota or a Honda, Ford, Dodge, whatever it might be, we have a footprint of about 1,300 to 1,400 used cars in our operations that you'll be able to see. And we'll be able to actually source those for customers that are local that would like to see them. We have courier drivers that bring them up, et cetera. So there's going to be, it's for us, it's really fun and exciting. Plymouth has welcomed us with open arms. I can't tell you the number of people that I've personally ran into and met that have been so friendly and welcoming and are so excited about what we have for plans for that facility and for our footprint here in Plymouth. So I say to everyone that encounters us, there's a lot of upside potential, and there's obviously a lot of development happening on that road, and we want to be part of it. We look to modernizing our image, so to speak, to more of what the current Ford dealerships look like across the United States. So I think that what you'll find in us, not only from the perspective of putting better facilities and images and places, but you'll actually find our core values as an operation. I'll be very present in the store on a daily basis. Customers will see me, meet me, get my cell phone number. It's going to be very much a hands-on type of operation. And we're actually coming out with a really cool program, if you haven't seen it in our advertising media, but every new Ford we sell, customers get a 20-year, 200,000-mile guarantee on every single one of those vehicles that we sell. And that's been really, really widely accepted, and people are really excited about it. So I think in the weeks and months to come, you'll see us continue to evolve, so to speak. Our plans are aggressive, yet nothing happens fast enough for us, but we're getting there. And I think that you'll come to find us to be extremely involved with the community, where we definitely want to be great corporate citizens. And you'll see that through our sponsorships and programs that we'll initiate here in the local market. So I come to before you today excited and enthusiastic and really looking forward for the partnership with the City of Plymouth. So if you guys have any questions for me, that's really my piece, so to speak. I don't know if anybody has any questions or want a clarification on anything, but fire away.
Does the board have any questions?
Sounds great.
Thanks. Oh, we will put the sign up.
The sign's up.
Yeah, exactly. Brian was handy enough to have a permit ready for me when I came down this evening, and that's underway. So I'm thinking the next month or two, we'll have that up and presented like it should be. So that's, I know everybody's been asking me about that.
We're really happy you're here in Plymouth.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are.
Thank
And
you.
you had some inventory there at some point, but now it's all, are you repaving the driveway?
We moved it out Saturday night so that they could sweep the parking lot on Sunday.
Okay.
And now we put it all back. But we had a fairly successful run the last 60 days, a little more than anticipated. So we're replenishing, which is good. That's what you want. You want inventory in, inventory out. So thus far it's been working well. But after our closing at the end of this May, things will definitely start moving along with the inventory side of things in a more aggressive fashion. So.
Super.
Well, it's a good footprint, and Tenny Mountain Highway is definitely taking off, so
Awesome.
you're in the right place at the right time, I guess.
I think we are. So look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Sean.
We have new business. We have, first item is acceptance of New Hampshire Department of Justice Police Grant in the amount of $120,000 for 2 years, and designation of Paul Freitas as far as designated signatory. You going to present
It's me.
an overview?
Just wanted the board to know that the town of Plymouth, again, was awarded $120,000 over 2 years for an officer to work towards the drug task force that is part of the state of New Hampshire. This was received through the efforts of Paul Freitas, our town administrator, and Chief LaFave. So I do have a certificate of authority here that needs to be signed by the board accepting those funds, and also authorizing Paul Freitas as the signator for that.
Okay, do we need a motion, or it's
Yes,
pretty much?
please.
Okay.
I make a motion that we accept the funds and authorize Paul Freitas to sign for expenditures of it.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Discussion?
Oh, any discussion?
Yeah, I just have a question. Are there any restrictions or caveats on that money?
No.
It's just, okay.
It is utilized for the officer's time. That's the restriction.
Thank you.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 The ayes have it. And the parking committee is going to discuss issues, fines, meters, kiosk.
So this parking committee that we're going to be discussing some ideas that we came up with was born from an original economic development committee that we started, knowing that it would be short-lived, to see what projects need to be exposed, to find out where we go. Richard Gowan who's sitting in the audience, was on that committee. We had 2 public hearings. Was it 2 or 1, Richard? I think 2 public hearings. We got feedback from the public that showed up, and we readily noticed that there was a need, that we needed to act quick on something with the downtown merchants. And we realized it's parking that is the utmost importance to Plymouth for the viability of the downtown merchants. So we acted upon that and put together a parking committee, and Carol Dunn is here representing the downtown businesses to come up with the findings that we've found so far.
Thank you. I wanted to pass out a couple things before I just can all have one of these. But my name is Carol Dunn, and I own the property at 77 Main Street here in Plymouth, and own and operate Dressers Unlimited. And, downtown is thriving right now. We have lots of businesses, new restaurants. Our office space is fully filled up. But the parking inventory has remained the same. And it's always been an issue, and it's now quite serious. So our committee, I'm one of many business owners that have been meeting the last couple of months to come up with ideas and proposals to present to the select board tonight, to hopefully make some changes. Most of us, the number one priority was, beyond customers having spaces to park so that we can continue to have businesses in town, is employee parking. Most of us have little or no employee parking. And that leaves everybody scurrying around trying to find the very few long-term meters down by the riverfront or wherever. Or an alternative that often is most convenient is to just go to a meter and feed the meter and incur the parking ticket. So we have come up with we've done an initial inventory of town property, and there was a lot of land down by the senior center, between the senior center and the gate of the town and sewer area, that we have somewhat discovered that maybe with very little effort, just the drawing of some lines, we could come up with 20 or 40 new spaces for employees, which would be permitted parking that employers or employees would pay. So we would ask the board to help us and assist us with maybe continuing to research that and get that done at the earliest possible date to assist. The second proposal is the current parking fees and fines. The meter fees right now are 25 cents for an hour. The current price market normally is at least 25 cents for 15 minutes. So we would like to ask the police department or the select board to consider increasing those fees. Right now, with the 25 cents an hour, my understanding is that the town receives about $61,000 a year in spare change. This could be $240,000. And maybe some of that money could be earmarked moving forward to be in a fund that could be just set up for parking improvements moving forward. Because the bottom line is that if we're going to have a successful downtown and businesses, and we're going to have continued business investment and expansion along Green Street or all the other plans we've had over the last 25 years I've been here, we have to have some parking. Then we have the fine situation. I just passed out a little chart of the fines that the town of Plymouth has versus PSU. And we are not up to par with PSU, and the committee had made a lengthy discussion that maybe we should be more close to that, what the PSU is charging. Most of us every day see numerous people, whether they're business people or workers or students, finding it much more convenient to feed the meter, grab a cup of coffee, go to work, go to class for the afternoon, get the ticket, and be on their way. So they're taking up very much needed parking spaces for our customers. And thirdly, obviously, none of this is going to be successful unless we have a broader and stronger enforcement. And whether that's through signage or foot patrol to levy the fines when there is a parking violation. And so we just really hope that we can make some progress here and get some spaces to help us along the way, and then we can move forward with other ideas to broaden the parking situation. But I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are you available for questions too? Or? So,
Questions?
I know we discussed, or we kind of brought up like kiosks in the past, and you have kiosks as well, but isn't it a funding issue? Or I think maybe Chief LaFave mentioned the fact that, it's kind of not a budget killer, especially if we increase fees, but, kiosks are pretty easy to
Are you
use.
asking specifically about the kiosk or the meters themselves?
If we were to go with like kiosks, what the expense of that would be kind of,
Did you give a copy of
I
that?
didn't give you a copy of that, but the kiosks, if you just buy one, is around $6,000. If you buy up to 10, they get down to $5,900, you get 10% off. This is with the same company that has the kiosk behind Meredith Village Savings Bank, I believe.
Correct.
And they need to be spaced every 7 to 10 parking spaces. The one point, though, that I think that was brought up is that the current meters cost about $575 per meter. And so when you do that math at 10 meters, you're at the same pricing, realizing that funding is an issue. That is a dilemma. But possibly the increase in the parking fees and fines could be, a fund to draw on to slowly move in that direction. And then my son in Boston did tell me the other day, they just have an app. They just have to go to the app, and they just put the money, they don't even have to go to the car, so.
The committee's got some outstanding ideas. I wholeheartedly agree with almost all of them. The fines need to be increased. Frank, when's the last time we discussed the fines? How many years ago was that? 20 years ago? I mean, those are old fines. You can't park anywhere in the state for that amount of money. We're very low. Those need to come up. Fines need to come up, as Carol pointed out. Kids realize that I'll go on campus and get a $100 ticket. Well, I go park on Main Street, I get a $10 ticket. Well, for $10, I'll go park there all day. Everybody, who wouldn't do that? So there's no deterrence there whatsoever for them not to park, not to use their parking spaces for their customers. And so we also had discussed, along with the parking meters themselves, the cost, it makes no sense if we up the fines if we're gonna go to kiosks, because then all those have to be reprogrammed. And some of them are old, some of them can't even be reprogrammed, so we'd have to replace them,
Meters.
reprogram them. So it's not cost effective. I think leaning more towards, let's look towards getting all kiosk machines. Like she said, about 7 to 10 spaces. If you do one in the middle, 5 on one side, 5 on the other, I think you get the most bang for your buck out of that.
You go down to Concord, though, it seems like it's like half a block before there's, another kiosk, so.
Yeah, well, you also don't want, you know what I mean, you don't want somebody parking down on South Main Street and have to walk to North Main Street to go get a ticket. But the other good thing about that, in my mind, I envision, if the rest of the parking committee agrees or not, you buy a ticket in one spot, that lets you park anywhere on Main Street for that amount of time that you purchased. As long as you have the ticket displayed in your window. That's the most convenient for everybody. I love the app idea. That's a great idea. Anything you can make more convenient for people is gonna help. If people can pay with their phone, pay with a credit card, that's gonna be way more convenient for them to rustle around trying to find change or whatever. But some people still do prefer the change, so you can't totally get rid of that as well.
Sounds good.
So your point about the meters versus kiosks, that's something we've been talking about for 2 or 3 meetings with the parking committee. And we felt that if we could save that discussion for slightly down the road, whereas phase 1 are hopefully things we can act on extremely quickly. So that's where we left it. We're not going to give up on that discussion. We want to flush it out a little bit more, possibly. There's definitely some areas that where people are running in and out, and they don't want to do the minimum, which would be $1 for a kiosk if they're running in to get a $1.90 soda or something. So there's certain businesses that it may not work. So we want to be able to have some time to really not just fly off the handle and make quick decisions. We want to put some thought into exactly what Plymouth needs. And initially, to take care of the parking problem, phase 1 would do an incredible job to help the businesses right from, and we've got a little bit of leeway here with the college away. Right now, it's already opened up some parking, so this gives us a little bit of time to just get this done. So I believe they're looking for direction from the select board, and Kathy or Andy. I talked to Carol. I don't know if she got a chance to talk to you about what it would take. A hearing? Do we know?
Like, are we talking about just increasing the fines for the first
Right.
phase? Okay.
I don't know, but I will find the answer.
Well, phase 1 on this says the employee parking, doesn't say anything.
Right, I mean, that was the 3 proposals.
Phase 1 of the 3
Right.
items.
And that's what you want action on, right?
Yep, so I'll talk a little bit about employee parking, the vote to increase current parking fees. It looks like it's gonna be up to us to do that vote, but we're trying to figure out whether we need a hearing or not, or whether we can just vote at the next meeting and direct. Maybe we could ask the chief to come up with, was it like 30 or 40 fines, a whole list of them,
Yeah,
that
I
we
have
have to
them
update.
I have them all listed out.
And we're thinking to align ourselves with the fines of what the college is, so there's no difference on where they want to park. So if we could direct the chief to come up with a plan for us, and then if we can, next meeting, vote on it. If not, have a hearing and notify the townspeople. So if we don't need a hearing, I think we could just vote on this next meeting with your information prior. Frank? Sorry.
I'm putting together a map of the whole village commercial zone, addressing predominantly the Main Street. And this is a copy. This is a response of Concord's program, and it's a good read. It provides us an agenda item of things we need to consider in our actions going forward. My work right now is to inventory what we have as we have it, and then going forward to look and see how we go from the simple items of addressing employee parking, and then our meter system, whether it's a kiosk, whatever, because there are design standards. We have to keep in mind that our systems need to be safe, secure, serviceable, and sustainable financially. And that's part of the elements that are acknowledged in the Concord system. And that was part of their economic development plan, which obviously included parking. So in this next week here, I'm getting the maps together to actually inventory every parking space and every meter we have. And then through that, placing a kiosk, if you change your system, we have to place those kiosks in a location that provides a safe avenue. You don't want people to see a kiosk and go dart across the street. You want them at a place where there's a crossing. So how we locate and position the kiosk system is actually a safety design standard. So I'm in that process of pulling this together, and I will be passing the information to the chief, and we'll kind of work it together.
And on another note, I know we're not at that phase yet, but the highway department would love us to get rid of the meters because it's a pain for them to have to plow around
I'd
them.
love to be involved in placement as much as possible
Yeah.
as well, because there's a lot of maintenance for us as far as Main Street, plowing and working around those that we're very familiar with. Most people probably wouldn't even realize what's involved as far as the equipment that we need to get to clean that snow and remove that windrow, and where those are placed and where we have to pull snow out and move it to that's definitely a big concern for us. I mean, removing the meters behind the sidewalks was huge on North Main, but South Main is still very, very much an issue for us.
I think another note, as part of our program of the program of parking funding sustainability, is that the funds we received help to maintain, repair the parking system, which would include the cost of the highway department restriping our Main Street parking areas. So that comes out of their budget, but there should be part of the parking system funding methodology that it has to sustain itself financially with the funds received. So we can maintain the system and then set aside certain funds so that in the future we decide we want to build something down the road 3 to 5 years, we have some kind of funds to start with.
Thanks, Frank. And, regarding the actual fines, if we were to mimic the parking fines that the university has, this is from your ordinance, right? The fees, the fines themselves?
Okay, yes, then.
Copy those in there.
So you need just to modify your ordinance with.
For the parking fines themselves? Yeah, which I believe, and again, I don't know if it requires a hearing or just a vote from you guys. I don't know how you have to do that. I'm under the assumption that you have to have a public hearing to
Yeah.
modify an ordinance. That's my understanding of it.
Yeah, we could, yeah.
Okay. So we'll try and schedule that as quickly as we can, wherever Kathy or Ann can fit that in.
And regarding like a transition to kiosks, which I'm much in favor of, but I guess it's an unanticipated expense. You didn't budget for it.
Correct.
So fiscal year starts next July, and, unless you can offset it with like fees or whatever, but it might be like a future consideration.
Absolutely, and I think that's what the parking committee agrees with. It's nothing we're not anticipating doing at July 1st this year, but I
Right.
think in the future, I think they want some employee parking to begin with,
Yeah.
raise the parking fines, let's fix the small, easy issues first, and move on from there.
So, and as far as like striping that area that you're thinking of the parking spaces, how frequently do you have to restripe it? Or or you think it's you stripe it once and that's it? Huh?
What are you talking about?
Down by the,
And of senior parking.
Isn't that all dirt, Maya?
It's all gravel. I have no idea how.
Yeah, right.
Paint is gonna hold up on that. I mean, probably every rainstorm, every time people drive across it, it's gonna be very difficult to maintain. I'm not.
Yeah.
I
Maybe,
measured from the block at the end of senior center to the fence of the highway. It's 250 feet. We already have cars parked there 20 deep, which is 200 feet. The rationale for striping the dirt, which I was gonna do because I had the machine, voluntary action, was to establish, even if it's just temporary, for the last 90 days, it gets people in the mind
yeah.
that this is a legal, lawful, valid spot and get us going on the employee parking. And as of yesterday, I did an inventory. There's 48 buildings on Main Street that house 170 businesses. So you take the 170, multiply it by 2, and that's the vehicles we have to deal with.
Okay. Thanks, Frank, for doing that. In any event, so I guess you're requesting to go forward with phase 1. That sounds great.
One other thing is the businesses have asked about a greater presence of the parking enforcement so that there aren't people until everything gets changed over, to keep an eye on someone not just parking all day and taking off and going to a seminar at the college, or so they'd love to see the parking guide there more often or whatever needs. So that brings us to parking down by the senior center. And I did talk to, Gail. Yes, I talked to Gail today. She is receptive to talking with the community and working with us to make some spaces down there that would increase what's available now by pulling up the wooden structure that's right directly in front between the river and the senior center. She's okay with that, and then being able to have parking behind that structure. However we decide that we can fit something. At that point, she's concerned about diagonal parking, but would be okay for the front to pull in. On the back side could be diagonal for employees, because it might be harder for the seniors to park diagonally. And I'm thinking that if we pull it back towards the senior center parking, we have 2 sets, that at that point, there's enough pavement to at least start the hash marks. Not the whole line, but at least hash, so everybody can see the parking. And once we can develop a plan, I don't know where that plan or how it would be developed, but she would love to see it, and she's receptive for that purpose. And we also have, there's a few more parking spots that the town manager suggested about right before the gate that goes into the water and sewer, that possibly 4 or 5 to 6 cars could park parallel to the train tracks, but not blocking the gate.
Before the highway department gate or the water?
Water and sewer gate.
So they'd be on highway. How are they gonna lock their gate though? That's the problem when they're not working.
Highway department gate.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I think we're thinking highway department gate and not water and sewer gate.
Okay,
Either
Because
one.
they have to be able to secure their equipment.
right.
This needs a safety review because the state RSA's on the width of a way has certain parameters for minimum width for parking. So you have what you call a safety factor of turning and maneuver. And that's why we need to have a plan that represents what is actually there and it goes through the various people to ensure that it's a safe system. As much as physically trying to put a car in there, it needs to comply with state and industry standards for parking.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know highway has a lot of concerns with a lot of these things that we have to sort out.
Yeah, it would be in concert with you, not, you know,
Yeah, there's.
just go ahead and do
I
it.
can see a lot of,
We'd be happy having one of you participate on the committee if you
Yeah,
want.
absolutely.
All right. Now, we don't need a motion to go forward to, have this put on a public. Okay.
Question, just so I know, clarity for myself. You want me to come up with new fines?
Yeah.
Email it to the board before the next meeting?
Yeah,
Okay. I will do that.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chief. Thanks,
Thank you.
Carol.
Thank you.
Okey-doke. Treating the common.
Just to follow up to the last meeting when Larry
Right.
and Jim were here discussing what they used to treat the common. They did an investigation was done on treating it organically, and organically treating it would cost the town $10,000 as opposed to the $90,000 fee that it cost them the way that they did it. So they're just
900 or, yeah, it was like.
$90.
Oh, $90, okay.
$90.
Yeah.
It was $10,000 to treat it organically, and we don't have that in our budget, so they were
Yeah,
just.
I haven't talked to the person that brought that to our attention since that meeting, but, you know, I think it, you know, would probably be okay. You know, especially since, you know, it's pretty much of a public, or I mean, they basically sell this product
Right,
for personal use,
right.
so. And it's properly posted when used, so.
It wasn't the whole common though, it was spot treatment, right?
That's what was described, yeah, they,
Yeah, yeah.
the spot,
Yeah.
it wasn't, they didn't apply to the whole, you know, acre or whatever it was there.
So
Okay,
that's it. That's,
all right.
Thank you.
Committee reports.
So I had the last Friday, the parking committee, where we set up to discuss what we were going to talk about today. It was very productive. I believe we had 10 or 15 in attendance. And the committee is making good progress. There's a lot of good information that everybody's adding, and I love being on that committee. It's doing a lot of good things, and Daniel's part of that, and I can't. Cindy is, and they're all bringing some really good information to allow the shoppers to not have to keep driving around the common, but actually find spaces. And I keep saying they're not making any more land between the university and the river. It's what we got, and we have to do everything we can. We've got all these restaurants coming into town, and Plymouth is starting to really, things are starting to really happen with Plymouth in the downtown. And whatever we can do, and I know it's painful in some cases, but whatever we can do to find, to allow for more parking for the businesses, it brings in more money for them, it brings more people into the community, and it makes Plymouth a much more attractive community for businesses that are thinking of coming into Plymouth. And this is the initial stage of the Economic Development Committee's progress.
Thank you. Brian?
I have none.
Kathy?
I don't have any committee, but I have a follow-up from when the Brownies came and asked us if there was someplace they could clean up. So, and I know we already heard from Fred Gould about the Friends of Fairgrounds that cleaned up, and just, I don't know if you all heard, but they collected 47 bags of garbage on Fairgrounds Road, which is 14.7 bags a mile. And the Brownies were part of that, and then there was another cleanup that was done by the Mountain Village Charter School, where they cleaned up, they did a regatta on the river, and they cleaned up quite a few things on the river, old tires and garbage and so forth. So I'd like to just recognize those groups, and I know we already wrote a thank you note to Fred Gould and Friends of Fairgrounds, but I think it'd be great if we could also write one to the Brownies since they were here. I think that would be a good way for them to understand that town appreciates them, and write another one to Mountain Village Charter School.
Sounds very good. Somebody want to draft those, or? Kathy's shaking her head yes. All right, very good, thanks. And we had a planning board work session where we looked at, zoning issues, and we'll be trying to address those. And also we have a couple of items for our next meeting to address, which will be next Thursday, something like that, next Thursday. And I also chaired a PERLAC meeting, the Pemigewasset River Local Advisory Committee meeting on April 30th, actually. And one of the outcomes of that meeting is that we discuss an update to Northern Pass. And there is going to be the Supreme Court hearing on Wednesday, the 15th at 10 a.m. And, you know, the outcome of that would be their decision to either kick it back to the SEC, you know, the Site Evaluation Committee, or simply dismiss it and, you know, stand on the ruling of the previous SEC's, you know, opinion. So May 15th is a big day, and otherwise it might be going back to like a dicey situation where they're going to reconsider how they're going to come down through their, you know, the pathway that they originally, you know, came up with. So anyway, I'll be down in Concord for that one. So
Bill, I have a question for you. How many, or have any of the SEC board members changed?
Yeah.
How many?
I think there's a couple still haven't been appointed because there was a problem with the last one that was proposed, a public member. But the agency SEC members, I think there were maybe like 4 may have changed.
Do we remember how many?
It was like six or something like that. So it's you know, going to be in front of a different group
Yeah.
if it does go back to them. So that's it for me. So, is there any public comment? Does anybody from the public have any comments? Or? All right, give it a shot. Seeing none, we're going to have to go into a non-public session. So, under RSA 91A:3, Roman numeral 2, A through I, is there a motion?
So moved. Second. Oh, you got it.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. We're in non-public.